Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today, John Greschner calling.
Valley Correctional Facility. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse this free thank you for using, you may start the conversation now.
And they'll get killed for that shit. I'm not letting that happen. Even Barry said one time, he remarked to somebody else, he said, damn, why does John keep stopping this shit and investigating stuff out? Because I'm not going to let anybody kill anybody for bullshit. Sometimes you can't save somebody. They just, whatever they did is just too egregious. You just can't save them. You know, and I used to go through it in my own head and say, what the fuck did he do that for? Why did he turn left instead of right? He knows he's been in the game. He's not somebody that just wandered into this. He comes from the underworld. He knows if he does X, Y, or Z, he's going to get whacked. That's all there is to it. I don't care who you are. You could be the top boss, you know, the big kahuna. Your ass is going to get whacked. And I used to go through it, and I used to think, well, man, it's just like a karmic thing, man. You know, it's just these guys' time to go, right? So this thing about they respected Sammy so much, I guess on his claim to fame that he's a killer. Well, the whole organization is killer. So yeah, so that's not a thing, and they're not going to let a known informant in there unless they can pull him into the corner somewhere. If there's like a $500,000 contract that Sammy, they can pull him in the corner somewhere and hot shot him or hit him with a toxin like some, you know, Ryzen or cyanide or something, or just go in and choke them out. I read the shit where the federal judge says the MO of the Aryan Brotherhood, he says they're stabbers and stranglers. They stab you to death and they strangle you to death with their bare hands. Hey, he cited a case. He says, Quicksilver, we'll call this guy Quicksilver. Quicksilver and his partner, they went, he says, either out of compassion or for expediency's sake, as they went in as surgeons to perform the surgery, they gave this guy general anesthesia. Then he went to explain what it was. They said they rolled in, beat him over the head with lead pipes, knocked him out, then pulled out the knives and performed the surgery, and they stabbed him to death. So I guess the judges got some, you know, a sense of humor, right? But I'm telling you, they are not going to allow known threats into an organization.
Yeah.
Especially when you got the federal government in a country like this today that's going after white men and it's going to call them all white supremacists, Aryan Brotherhoods, where they are, whether they are or not, or KKKs or whatever. So they're going to be targeting you. So you are not going to allow any known threats or informants or people that have testified on stands in criminal cases. And Sammy brought a lot of people down. You're not going to allow somebody like that in your crew.
Now, can you tell me about Nicky Scarfo, how you first met him and what he was like in your dealings with Nicky Scarfo?
Okay, so Nicky come into Marion. He was in D Block with us. Nicky's just a short little dude, right? He was on the tier with me. I went down seeing him. Hey, Nicky, I'm John. How you doing? He said, I'm Nicky. I said, man, what's up? You know, welcome to our house. And he just kind of laughed, right? And me and him would spin the yards. He told me all about his case and everything, all about his stuff, all about that little kid that hung himself. He really felt bad about that. Little kid really looked up to him and believed in him. And then they started talking all this crazy stuff about Nicky and Nicky's nephew, Leonetti. He said, man, if you don't stop my uncle, he's going to kill more people than Adolf Hitler and, you know, all this shit, right? So it really, this little kid hung himself, man. So that really fucked with Nicky. And then that youngster in his crew that was coming up that he had whacked, he told me, he says, John, listen, he says he had affiliations with different areas inside this crew. And he says, man, he was a threat. He said he was a threat. He had to go. So
Testa. You're talking about Testa.
That's that world. That's the underworld, man. I get it. And you know how it is in the underworld. For you to get up, to move up through the ranks, you got to be you got to be a money maker. You got to be welcomed up through the ranks, or you kill your way up through the ranks.
Testa was a killer. He was a killer, Nicky. He did a lot of murders for him.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes, man, you're going to see things where you start perceiving a threat. If you're a killer and you're putting moves on, you're hitting people for guys. You know, a guy that's at the top. These guys at the top, especially in organized crime crews, they start tripping, thinking, man, maybe seeing things and maybe even misreading things, getting a little paranoid or so, and thinking, man, this dude here is making moves, and he's coming for me. He's coming for my spot. They're always coveting their little spots. Barry Mills used to do that all the time. Barry, you got to remember, ours was a thing where we had a commission. There wasn't no boss. So one of our guys, Slow off the coast, got into Barry's ear because we're interacting with Gotti and Nicky and all them. And these guys are, bosses and godfathers and all that. So he got in his head that he's some kind of a godfather. I told him, listen, don't get this shit fucked up. You're nobody's boss. You're my brother. Don't ever try to give me an order to go kill somebody. That guy needs to get killed. You get your shit, I'll get mine. We'll go kill him together. AB stands for Aryan Brotherhood, not Aryan Barryhood. And don't get that shit correct. And he didn't like it, but hey, you're not my boss. You are not on top of them at the top of the heap giving orders. The commission does that. So Barry, it was a paranoid power and control freak. He's always seeing threats to his idea of his status and power and all that. And nobody was doing it. That's just a kind of a natural state at the top of an organized crime crew in the underworld, man. You can get whacked too. People are coveting your spot, coveting your money, coveting your power, coveting whatever. And that's the same thing with Nicky, same thing with Gotti, all of them. So it's not surprising to me the way Nicky run it down to me. He was perceiving, rightly or wrongly, perceiving this guy, that youngster, as a threat to him.
Yeah, Salvi.
A good guy that was really loyal to you, really a good dude, and an asset to your organization. But you got annoyed, you got tripping, and you went and had him whacked, man. And that was, that's basically, it's a tragedy, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on Joey Merlino having a podcast now?
Well, listen, you remember how Big Paulie in New York, there at Gambino family was integrating his stuff into like this idea of legitimate business and everything else, right? Making that transition. Okay, podcast. I'm sure, and I have never listened to his podcast, but I'm sure he isn't on the podcast talking about him, his organization, or anything else creating doing criminal acts or murders or anything else, unless it's public knowledge. It's already part of the public records. You know what I'm saying? It's been prosecuted, everything else. You don't want to get on a podcast and say things that are going to get people indicted. You don't want to say things that are going to put people in harm's way. If it's old hat stuff that's well known, maybe that isn't really fully known in the social medias or whatever, but law enforcement has been knowing about it. And that's a done deal. They process it all the way out, did what they had to do, so it's a wrap. Then they can get up and talk about these things, and the public loves a lot of this stuff. They love hearing about, robberies and shootouts, the whole trip, right?
Yeah.
They do that stuff. So that's my thing on him having a podcast. That's his business, and I'm sure, he's a smart guy and he knows what to say. Think about this. This is a business. It's a marketing thing, how to get your information out. People are paying to get that information. Like any other social media thing. If they want to get on X or Twitter or TikToks or whatever and look up some new singer or rock star or whatever and see what's going on in the whole trip, this is just another genre of information that people are interested in, and they'll pay to get on and listen to it and get entertainment. It's business and it's a moneymaker, man. Man, you should not only get into the organizational things, you should get into shit like, the old hook and ladder gangs and all that shit, trying to break out of prison and shit. Listen, man, these are some wild stories. A lot of them were unsuccessful, some were successful, but this shit is just crazy. So, and the bottom line is, hey, only humans, even wild animals, you put them in a cage, they'll chew their leg off trying to get out. Only humans will rationalize this shit out. Somehow it's okay to just lay around and spend your life in a little cage, right? But there's some that are the exceptions. They just burn a little hotter. Their spirit burns a little hotter, right? And they're trying to break it. And that's what it's all about. Because back in the days, you had a duty to break jail. And then if you had any partners in jail, you had a duty to break them out of jail. So nowadays, it's different, man. There's a whole different mindset going. Now they're all just drug addicts, man. And they're caught up in this other stuff. You know what I mean?
Did Nicky Scarfo have any problems in there?
Nicky had problems one time when they brought a bunch of blacks in from Philly, and they came in. They had like a riot or something in one of their prisons up there, and they brought them in. And there was a little issue because there was a few of them in our cell block in D block with us. And then we went to them, told them, listen, man, you know, it's hands off on Nicky. Nicky's a friend of ours. This ain't happening. Whatever you guys had going on in Philadelphia, in the streets and business and rackets and whatever, that's out there. It ain't happening in here. And if it happens in here, then there's going to be some problems. So they backed off Nicky. Nicky used to be when we were playing tennis at Marion, he'd be my front court man. Because I'm like 5'8". I'm getting old. I'm shrinking. I may be 5'7.5" now, but Nicky was shorter than me. So I tell Nicky, I said, man, you stand up at the front net there, Nicky. When the ball comes to you, tell him, kill it. Tell me, doctor. He says, I got it, doctor. I'll kill it. I said, and when he'd kill it, I tell him, good kill, Nicky. And he'd just grin. And Nicky was my buddy. I was with him for a couple of years there, and then he got moved on, and then I got moved to the other side of the block because Barry started some shit. That's a kind of a different subject, but he started some stuff. He's trying to whack some brothers, saying they're no good. Takes 2 commissioners in our organization to whack them. I said, where's the evidence? He's saying they're informants. There's no evidence. I went to all the brothers. This is what he's doing. It ain't gonna fly. There's no evidence. You know our laws. If anything happens to a brother and it hasn't been authorized by the commission, 2 commissioners, everybody involved is gonna get whacked. I got moved over to the other side. Then Nicky went to the step down unit C block, then B block, pre-transfer, then moved out to another pen somewhere.